Alright gamers, so today I'm going to very quickly run you through the slightly longer but more reliable way of installing Rec Room Studio. So just to clarify, it will generally work if you just download the Rec Room Studio launcher and install it that way. I've seen that work for about 75% of people, but there are times at which that process breaks down a little bit. So I'm going to show you the way that will generally always work, or at least if it breaks, you will know what part of it broke. And there's an extra little goodie that we get from doing it this way that I'll walk you through as we go. So here in the Notes and Resources channel on the lab section of the Berry Patch, I've put the link to the Unity Hub installer. Don't worry, this is Unity official. You're not going to get any problems from this. Now, I'm going to go ahead and not actually hit save here, only because I already have it, but you're going to want to hit save. And then head on over to your downloads folder. Go ahead, click I agree. Install that to your C program files. It's generally a safe place to do it. Now, while you're waiting for this to download, if you've got a slow connection like me, hopefully you don't, but if you do, now would be a great time to go and sign up for a Unity ID if you don't already have one, because you will need that for the rest of this process. So as you can see, we've now got our Unity Hub set up. I'm getting warnings on all of these because I uninstalled the right version of Unity for the sake of this tutorial. But to get that right version of Unity for Rec Room Studio, if we head back to the Notes and Resources section of the Berry Patch, now that we have the Unity Hub installed, we can take this Unity Hub link and we can paste it into our browser, and the browser will ask to open the Unity Hub. So we'll click Open the Unity Hub, and after giving it a second to think, it will ask you to install unity.20.3.33.f1. No dot, just F1. I'm having a skill issue. But that's the one we want. And you want to scroll down to this Windows Build Support IL2 CPP checkbox. That's the only one of those you need. You don't need Visual Studio Community Edition, and you don't really need the docs. You can get those on the internet anyway. But you at the very least want these free. And I'll tell you why. Sorry, not these free. You'll at the very least want this one here, Windows Build Support IL2 CPP. And I'll tell you why. So, the reason that you want that one is because that's what's going to let you build locally from Rec Room Studio. Now, I haven't used this functionality all that much, but there are people who swear by it, and I do want to get into the habit of using it. It's especially helpful for when you're doing solo projects, and you've got a game mechanic for your room that uses Rec Room Studio that you want to go back and forth on and iterate with a few times, and you don't want to wait for that 5 to 10 minute cloud build process every single time you double check what you're doing. That's what this is an absolute lifesaver for. And so that's why we're installing it this way, because when you install it using so just to clarify, the Rec Room Studio installer will automatically, if you let it, most of the time, go and find Unity Hub, and it will go and find the right version of Unity, and it will install it for you in the background. It just doesn't give you any progress indicator as to how long it's taking to do this. And it also, to my knowledge, doesn't install the IL2 CPP extension, which is what will actually let you build locally. And so that's why we do it this way. Oh, I forgot there's something else we're supposed to do while we're doing this. I may have forgotten the most important thing, the star of the show, the Rec Room Studio installer itself. The link to that is also in the Notes and Resources section of the Berry Patch. Now, I would not recommend trying to run this installer before Unity Hub has finished installing Unity 20.3.33.f1. Only because the Rec Room Studio installer will also try and install Unity.20.3.33.f1, and you don't want them stepping on each other's toes, so to speak. So we'll speed this up in post, but for now you'll just have to bear with me. There we go. Okay, so now we finally have unity.2020.free.33.f1. And so now that we have that, well, what we will do now is we will finally run the Studio installer. Rec Room Launcher has an update. It will now quit and install the update. Please run the launcher again after the installation is finished. That'll say please read and accept the terms of service. I haven't read them either, so maybe I should read the terms of service. We'll put the terms of service through ChatGPT at some stage, but I'm assuming most of them just say, hey, be excellent, don't use things you don't have the right to use. So Rec Room Studio will be installed to this local path, and I'm thinking I don't think I want it there, so I'll go put it in this drive instead. Go ahead and install that now. So it's going to run the installer, and I will be right back. So now we finally have Studio installed, we'll hit create new project. Now you want to put this on an SSD drive, if you have one available. Now if you don't know what an SSD drive is, that's okay. They're just drives that handle lots of small files a little bit better. So if you know what an SSD is, and you know that you have one, put your Studio projects in the SSD folder. If you don't, it's not going to be a big deal. It just means you'll have to wait slightly more. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder in one of my other drives to put this project in. Turns out I already had one called blank example, so I'm going to call this one blank example 2. I lie, it's another blank example. And so now you'll see Studio will go and create your Unity project, and when you click that, Studio will automatically launch the Unity editor for you. So here it is. Now, this first project import will take some time, because the first time you install the editor, there's a whole bunch of files that Unity goes ahead and fetches from various places that it only needs to fetch once, but it does need to fetch them this first time. So this first time that you do a fetch from Unity, or rather the first time you load up your the first time you load up your Unity project, this bit will take a while. But every subsequent project you start, it shouldn't take anywhere near this long. Okay, so we finally got Studio. Our project is started. And you can see there's the Rec Room Studio tab on the right-hand side. Now, if we were, you may not see this straight away, so to demonstrate, I'm just going to close that tab. But if you go Rec Room Studio, you can read that tab right back. I usually dock it on the right-hand side. And there we go. Your Studio is ready to explore with. And we will cover some of the many things you can do in Studio at the start of the next class. Hope to see you there.